Welcome back to Half the Battle. I'm your host, as always, Daniel Levy, your co-host, Shaq. And today it is just me. However, just a little scheduling conflict, but me and Shaq will be back in here next week. But guys, it's going down this Saturday night, tomorrow. Sean Strickland versus Uriah Hall in the main event. Been trying to get this new camera working. As you can see, this new camera, the picture quality is a lot better. We're trying to upgrade that, but there's some kind of like syncing issue. Like, I think basically like the way my lips are moving, it's like a half second behind or something like that. So I've been like spending like the last like however many hours trying to tweak it. I'm gonna have to get my tech guy in here to fix this shit, but just know that we are working behind the scenes to try to up the quality of the show and do things the right way. But we're not fucking tech experts or anything like that. You know what I'm saying? But hey, look at this camera quality. The camera quality is on point. Now we're just going to get that sync issue and then get Shaq back in here and we'll be good to go. But it's going down Saturday night. We got Uriah Hall in the main event versus Sean Strickland. Obviously, Uriah Hall, there were always big expectations for him, especially coming off the Ultimate Fighter. I mean, the way people viewed Uriah Hall on the Ultimate Fighter was kind of like, is he the next Anderson Silva? Is he the next crazy knockout artist? And you've seen the glimpses here and there, but I feel like now he's got that win streak. He's got that confidence behind him. You're finally starting to see the guy that people were wanting to see, since after the Ultimate Fighter, beat Anderson Silva and Chris Weidman back to back. That's big for his mentality. And Sean Strickland, I mean, ever since he moved up to 85s, look, I mean, that kid's always had talent too, but now he's on his win streak. He's trying to make his run. So this is going to be a very interesting fight. So listen, I'm going to break down this whole card start to finish. But before we do, you guys already know the deal. Got to give a shout out to our sponsor, Manscaped. So listen, the Olympics, Euros, baseball, major championships, and concerts are all in summer. You know what's not? A wild and hairy bush. Tame your pubes with help from our friends at Manscaped, the leaders in below-the-waist grooming. Their fourth-generation performance package includes the brand new Lawnmower 4.0, which is what I got in my hands right here. If an athlete treats their body like royalty, why not treat your pubes like Olympic gold? Fellas, do right by your balls and join the 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped by going to manscaped.com with the code BATTLE20 for 20% off and free shipping. And I mean, like we always talk about, y'all got to be ready for those short notice opportunities. I mean, look at my boy Jared Nitrain Gooden, 3-day notice, and he made 170 pounds on weigh-in day. You know he's ready for a short notice opportunity. You know, if those pubes are too long, he might not have made 171. It might have been 171.2. So Manscaped, y'all got to hook him up. But the world is starting to open, and the Performance Package 4.0 from Manscaped is here to help you get ready. Inside, you'll find their Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer. Again, what I got in my hand right here, the Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, the Crop Preserver ball deodorant, the Crop Reviver toner, plus 2 free gifts, the Performance Boxer Briefs, and the Shed Travel Bag. Talk about a world-class dismount into a post-quarantine world. This package is the perfect package for your package and peak performance in whatever sport you desire. The brand new Lawnmower 4.0 is here to take the podium. This 4th-generation trimmer features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. The Lawnmower 4.0 has a 7,000 RPM motor and a new multifunction on-off switch, which can engage a travel lock and gives you the ability to turn on a 4,000K LED spotlight on and off when needed for a more precise shave. And did I mention this trimmer is waterproof too? Michael Phelps is drooling just thinking about the possibilities. This package also comes with the Weed Whacker to chop the worst weeds up top in both your nose and ear. And this tool is a lock to take home gold in the biathlon. The Weed Whacker is also waterproof and uses a 9,000 RPM motor power 360-degree rotary dual blade system, which always sounds badass whenever I say. And this nose and ear hair trimmer provides proprietary skin-safe technology, which helps prevent nicks, snags, and tugs in those delicate areas. After trimming your pubes, show them some sportsmanship with Manscaped's liquid formulations. The Crop Preserver ball deodorant and the Crop Reviver ball toner are key to feeling victorious this year. And you know my boy Shaq ain't going to be caught dead at the VIP room in the club without that Crop Preserver and Crop Reviver. And Manscaped also threw in 2 free gifts to their Performance Performance Package 4.0, the boxers and the shed travel bag. So guys, get 20% off and free shipping with the code BATTLE20 at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping with the code BATTLE20 at manscaped.com. Achieve pubic glory this year with Manscaped. So now I think it's time to break down this whole card start to finish. Let me see what y'all are saying right now. Oh, you know, my boy Dan Goldstein threw right by your balls by Derek Lewis. Hey, can't argue with that. Definitely. Andrew, light up. I hope you're lighting one up from me. I appreciate you. Everybody in here, thank you so much. Should I oh damn, those earlier comments got deleted, man. I wanted to say something. I'm in the mood right now, but it's all good. I'm just so happy that y'all are passionate enough to want to hear us talk, man. So that means the world to me. Thank you for being here. So we're going to break down this whole card, as I said. Let's get right down to business, because first up in the welterweight division, we got a matchup between Orion Cosce. He's 7-0. He's taking on Phil Rowe, who is 7-3. And also, just so y'all know, I'm going to give y'all Shaq's picks as well. He sent them to me. My boy Jimmy the Drunk said, Danny looking lifted. I mean, bro, it's Friday night at midnight, basically. What the fuck you think? So Cosce versus Rowe, 7-0 versus 7-3, and currently the odds are Orion Cosce minus 154, minus 160-ish, and the comeback on Phil Rowe is plus 140. So basically, this is an interesting fight because Orion Cosce making that UFC debut, he had that fight on Contender Series, kind of reminds me of just, you know, a strong farm boy. You know, he's going to go out there, he's going to try to throw big bombs, he's going to try to pin you up against the fence and try to grind out the decision. You know, some of the lower level guys, he's going to go out there and finish. And with Phil Rowe, he's one of the longer guys in the division. I mean, he's got an 81-inch reach, which I think only Magny has a reach like that at welterweight. He's 6'4". Obviously, it's about, you know, the experience and the seasoning with a guy like Phil Rowe, because he's got all the physical tools. I mean, once this kid like realizes how to use his range and how to use that length and fight long, I think that he can go far in this sport. It's just that right now, you know, he's still early in his career. He's very hittable, but he's got some good things going for him. Obviously, I mentioned the physical attributes, but what about the fact that, you know, he is training his jiu-jitsu under Julian Williams, and one of his main training partners is Rodolfo Vieira. So you're on the mats rolling with a guy like Rodolfo Vieira every single day. That's only going to elevate your jiu-jitsu to that next level. So I think that he's just got to keep doing what he's doing. Look, this is a spot where I was just kind of surprised that, you know, Cosce is minus 160, minus 170, like minus 200. I mean, look, if you want to say he's a slight favorite, okay, that's one thing, but I'm not really sure, you know, why the confidence. So I'm gonna go with Phil Rowe here, man. You know, he knows what it's like to be under the UFC lights for the first time. He's coming back in here, but obviously, you know, you got to worry about the reason why the leg kicks were so effective in that last fight is because one of the disadvantages of being, you know, a 6'4" guy with the 82-inch reach in a weight class like welterweight is, you know, he's got a bit of those chicken legs, man. So it doesn't take too many. Now, granted, I haven't seen Cosce go out there with a leg kick game plan, but at the same time, just because he hasn't done it in the past doesn't mean that him and his team didn't sit down, watch the tape, and decide that, hey, let's implement that strategy here. So, you know, this fight could be very competitive. I'm going to lean with Phil Rowe to use his physical advantages and to, you know, maybe find a submission along the way. If not, grind out the decision. So my boy Jonathan Ramirez just donated $5 to the show. Get Shaq out the pen. Hey, Shaq's all good, man. We just had a scheduling conflict. I think a misunderstanding on my part. I think he said 1, so I was thinking 1 p.m. Apparently he meant 1 a.m. So no, but no, it's my bad. Let's blame it on me. So all right, so next up in the flyweight division, we got a matchup between Ryan Benoit. He's 10-7. He's taking on Zarrukh Adashev, who is 3-3. And currently, they got Ryan Benoit minus 140. The comeback on Zarrukh Adashev is plus 120. So Ryan Benoit, both these guys actually are better than their records indicate. Like with Ryan Benoit, it's one of those things where, look, this is a guy that went to a split decision with the flyweight champion Brandon Moreno. This is a guy that knocked out the Bellator bantamweight champion Sergio Pettis. So he's been competitive with some good guys, and a lot of these fights that he's losing are split decision losses, and it's not because he's not, you know, skilled or talented. It's just because these moments of bad in-fight decision making. Like it'll be 1-1 going to the third round, and he'll give up that takedown. So it's things like that cost Ryan Benoit these wins. It's not a lack of skill. I mean, the guy hits extremely hard. I've always thought he was one of the hardest hitters at flyweight back in the day. Back in the day, it was him and John Moraga who were the hardest hitters at flyweight. Nowadays, obviously, with Davis and Figueiredo in the picture, which I hope he moves up to bantamweight. You know, it's a different story. But Ryan Benoit packs a punch. He's got hard kicks. He's been training his jiu-jitsu with Gary Tonin, so starting to, round out his game a little bit. And he's just a tough Texas kid. And Zarrukh Adashev, I understand his record is 3-3. At the same time, he went 17-3 as a kickboxer, so it's not like he's only had 6 fights. He's had the 20 kickboxing fights plus the MMA, and also in his short MMA tenure, he's also competed in Bellator, I believe. So he's got some decent experience. I know that debut against Tyson Nam. Listen, Tyson Nam's another one of the hardest hitters at flyweight, and Zarrukh took that fight on 4-day notice. Now, granted, I mean, everybody's different. Zarrukh was on the couch. He looked like the Pillsbury Doughboy. I know my boy Jared took the fight on 3-day notice, comes in and makes weight. Zarrukh didn't make weight. Zarrukh got caught right away. But that next fight against Sumadarji, Chinese Connor, I felt like Zarrukh showed up, man. I mean, look, it didn't go his way, but he fought tough. Like, he fought really, really tough. So he can only build off of that. And not to mention, he's training with the right people. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure he's out there training with Frankie Edgar, with Ricardo Almeida, with Mark Henry, with all those guys. So, I mean, if that's truly the case, then, I think that I think he's only going to improve. So this is one of those fights where Ryan Benoit should be favored just because of the seasoning and the UFC experience. However, it's one of those things where he has a way of making these fights close, and you start to do that against a young, hungry kid, and you could lose the decision. So at the betting window, I might go with Adashev, but pick, because I do agree with Benoit being a favorite. I'm gonna slightly lean Benoit, but I think it's a dog or pass situation. And I forgot to tell y'all Shaq's picks for those first 2 fights. I wrote it down. So he took Rowe, and he took Adashev, actually. So he did take Adashev there. And next up in the strawweight division, we got a match between Ashley Yoder. She's 8-7, and she's taking on Jinh Frey, who's 10-6. Let's see what y'all are saying real quick. Okay, but first let's read these odds, because currently they got Ashley Yoder -150. The comeback on Jinh Frey is +125. So this is another interesting fight, because I don't often recommend backing Ashley Yoder at a favorite price. She's someone you want to back as an underdog, because kind of like I was talking about one of these previous examples, if a fight is 1-1 going to the third round, that's usually where Ashley Yoder is the one that gets taken down and loses the close decision. But here against Jinh Frey, what makes it interesting stylistically is that Ashley Yoder is actually the bigger and better grappler here. So I actually think that she can get the takedowns a little bit more comfortably here, spend a little bit more time on top. Look, I got to give Jinh Frey a lot of credit for going out there and beating Gloria de Paula, because I actually didn't think that Jinh Frey was going to win, honestly, a single UFC fight. And it's not to disrespect her skill set at all. I just thought that, she was a little bit too small for the weight class. I thought that she was an atom weight, and I thought that her best days were behind her back when she won the Invicta, was the atom weight championship. She's a former champion in Invicta. I just thought that, the sport kind of maybe passed her by, but for her to go out there, beat a young, hungry prospect, was definitely a step in the right direction. It's just that the approach she had in that fight, which is to take down someone who doesn't have the best takedown defense. Not that Yoder's some prime Jose Aldo with her takedown defense or anything like that. But what I'm trying to say here is that I think Yoder is going to be the one that has more time and top control, and therefore edge out another competitive decision. But I will say this: if Yoder decides that this is the fight that she wants to come out and test her stand-up, not that necessarily she's going to get blown out the water, but I do think that that's where Jinh Frey could ultimately have some success in this bout, because the striking of Yoder isn't anywhere near as dangerous as the striking of De Paula. So, it just comes down to Yoder's approach. But if Yoder comes out here grappling heavy like she's supposed to, stays on top, doesn't give up position, I think that she edges out the decision. And interestingly enough, Shaq actually went with Jinh Frey in this spot. I would have loved to hear his breakdown on that. All right, let me see what y'all are saying here. My boy Uncle Wheezy in the house. He said ballers go live at midnight. Big ups. Hey, big ups to you, man. Definitely been enjoying what you've been doing. Keep it up. Rogue said Frey looking yoked out of her mind on the scales. Hey, y'all know if she's still training at Fortis MMA? Because interestingly enough, because y'all know Cheyanne Bays left Fortis MMA, but she was training with her, Cheyanne was training with Jinh Frey when she took the Paula fight. So interesting little tidbit there. All right, next up in the featherweight division, we got a matchup between Danny Chavez. He's 11-4. He's taking on Kamaka the third, who is 8-4. And currently they got Kamaka -115 and Danny Chavez is -105. So this should be a good spirited battle. I mean, anytime you got a Hawaiian versus a prideful Latino, you just know that this is recipe for fireworks. You know that these guys are going to go out there, and both guys are super durable. So there's a chance that it's just 3 rounds of chaos, of big punches, big kicks, takedown attempts, ground and pound, submission attempts, scrambles, everything that you want in a featherweight mixed martial arts contest. And look, Danny Chavez, he's the kind of guy that, man, it only takes a couple of those low calf kicks to immobilize you, and then from there he can start working the other aspects of his striking arsenal. And he's a guy that, correct me if I'm wrong, yeah, exactly, he's 34 years old. So basically with Danny Chavez, he's in his prime right now, so he doesn't really have the time to try to get that seasoning and try to get his feet wet. He's got to make that run right now in his UFC career, and I think that's the reason why they give him a guy like Jared Gordon 2 fights into, or 1 fight rather into his UFC career to test the guy, to see what he's all about. So, even though that fight didn't go his way, because I do think that Gordon, not only the pace that he pushes, but just experience counts for a lot in this game. And, Jared Gordon definitely out-experienced him. But here against Kamaka, it's more of an even playing field, but now you got the young, hungry prospect in Kamaka, who's 26 years old, taking on it's tough to call Chavez a grizzled vet, because on one hand, he is 34, but at the same time, man, he's only 2 fights deep into his UFC career. He's a hungry 34. So I wouldn't write him off because of his age, but I do think that Kamaka has a couple physical advantages here. And we talk about how Miranda Maverick versus Macy Barber was this, crazy robbery. And, I was on the wrong side of it, which is very frustrating, but it is what it is. But you want to talk robbery. What about TJ Brown versus Kamaka? Like, man, that was like, I felt bad for Kamaka. That's one of those where, after the final bell rings, you go out to grab a drink, you come back in thinking he won, and all of a sudden they're interviewing TJ Brown. You're like, what? Like, seriously? Like, and, I think I got a screen share here. I don't know if it'll let me, but did y'all see that post I made about with the picture of Adelaide Bird? Like, some people thought that was a joke. That was not a joke. That's actually Adelaide Bird. Let me post a picture of that in here, and y'all click it. I'm gonna post it in this chat, and y'all tell me what you think about that. Look, check this out. So I just posted it in this chat that we're on right here. Click that link real quick and tell me what y'all think. Those are the people judging these fights. So it's not even about what you think or what I think anymore. It's not even like, when you're capping these fights, it's about, well, what does Adelaide Bird think? Who does she think is the more handsome fighter? Who brought her a gift basket on fight week? So it's a pretty scary thing that's the state of our judging, because you want to find comfort. Oh yeah, someone asked, does she really train other judges? Yeah, isn't that fucking scary, man? Like, dude, like, what the hell is going on? Like, and it's like 2021. How do you take a stand? Like, how do you make a difference anymore? Because people are looked down upon if they stand up to the judging and the reffing and stuff like that. I think the judging is obviously worse, but there have been some instances with some of these refs that you disagree with, but I think the judging is the major problem that needs to be taken care of now. And I know for me on the local scene, I've seen some disgusting things, and I've been one of the guys that has been outspoken about it, and people look down on you when you question the authority of some of these judges and some of these refs, and it's a pretty scary thing, man. And it's like people don't understand that this is not under Dana White's control. This has to do with the athletic commission. So when people say, well, why doesn't Dana White do something about it? Dana White doesn't have a say in the matter. Now, maybe Dana White can have some influence here and there, but the athletic commissions are the ones responsible. And if they're not going to improve this shit, I mean, I don't know what to think. So it's like, how do you approach capping these fights that could potentially be close anymore, right? If you know it's going to be a blowout winner, that's one thing. But the fights that are 50-50, and, obviously you want the value on the dog, and then they give the split decision to the other guy, and the other guy clearly lost. I mean, or whatever the case may be. It's just, it's been tough with the judges. But back to this fight, I personally think that Kamaka is going to edge out this fight. It's just that, does Adelaide Byrd find Danny Chavez to be more attractive? Does you know what I'm saying? Is Chris Lee going to be on his cell phone throughout the fight? Like, so what I think doesn't fucking matter. It's all about what these judges think. And I could be wrong. Maybe Danny Chavez edges out the decision. But bottom line, I think it's going to be a close, competitive fight. I'm going to lean with Kamaka to get it done. Now, next up, well, before I go on, let me see what y'all are saying, because I know I just said a couple things, and maybe y'all agree, maybe y'all disagree. Let's see. My boy Bernardo Oliveira Apostas says the best podcast. I appreciate that, my man. Obrigado, hermano. Hope all is well in Brazil, my man. Let's see what else y'all said. Jonathan said, terrible. She ever been in an MMA fight? I mean, I highly doubt it. I don't think you have to be in an MMA fight to know how to judge. I mean, most of us have never been in MMA fights, and we all know Miranda Maverick won that fight, right? And even the Corey Sandhagen fight, I understand it was a close fight, but a fight can be close and still have a clear winner. So it's just a very frustrating thing, because I feel like the scoring criteria, if you actually read it, I don't think it's bad at all. I think it's pretty damn reasonable. It's just you got these incompetent people that don't know what the fuck they're watching, and that's the true issue. My boy Weezy said Adelaide Byrd is a very handsome woman. Yeah, you gonna ask her out for a drink tomorrow night after the fights? Let's see. Dan Goldstein said, if Adelaide Byrd likes your sweater at the weigh-ins, then you're a lock to win a greasy decision. I know we're going to have to pay close attention. We're going to have to find out which guys, like I said, are bringing our gift baskets on fight week. And, it's bet on Yanez. That way you don't need to trust the judges. I did bet on Yanez. Man, Yanez is a kid that he's very, very damn impressive. And if you watch his career, he's come a long way. No one's ever hurt him or rocked him in a fight ever. The only time that anyone's ever put it on him, besides kind of the first round of the Randy Costa fight, you got to go all the way back to Yanez's second fight against Levi Moles, and it was with ground and pound, and Yanez took it like a man. Yanez wasn't out here looking for a way out or anything like that. He's got that Mexican warrior spirit, man. Yanez is a kid that's he's going to go far in the sport. And speaking of Levi Moles, y'all should just remember that name, because I think he's going to be in the UFC here soon. He not only did he beat Yanez, he also beat Jimmy Flick and some other guys as well. And he's only 26 years old. So wait for this kid Levi Moles to make his UFC debut at some point here. But all right, guys, let's get to this next fight. So next up in the lightweight division, we got a matchup between Chris Gruetzemacher. He's 14-4. He's taking on Rafa Garcia, who's 12-1. And currently, they got Rafa Garcia minus 300. The comeback on Chris Gruetzemacher is plus 250. One thing I can guarantee is that this fight will be entertaining. I mean, you're talking about two dogs. Rafa Garcia, Mexican warrior, fights with so much spirit. Former Combate champion. He's the guy that goes forward the entire time. He's a guy that, he's the epitome and the embodiment of a Mexican warrior. I mean, you hit this guy with the kitchen sink and he's going to laugh at you, and then he's going to come back with his own shots. He's got some underrated wrestling to go along with it. He did this camp at in Denver with Trevor Whitman. So, he's been Justin Gaethje's main sparring partner. So he's been getting it in with a top 5 guy on planet Earth. His cardio is going to be even better. It was already great, but to take your cardio to another level, training in Colorado, and to sharpen your hands that were already pretty damn good with Trevor Whitman, it's only going to elevate this guy to the next level. And he's 12 years younger than Chris Gruetzemacher. Look, I'm very familiar with Chris Gruetzemacher. I max bet Davi Hamosh against Chris Gruetzemacher. I bet on Joe Lozon. Excuse me. I bet on Chris Gruetzemacher at plus 160 against Joe Lozon. And then I passed on Chris Gruetzemacher at big dog odds against Alex Hernandez. So I've been pretty good with the Gruetzemacher fights. And the issue with this fight is that, Chris Gruetzemacher is one of these guys that, he's tough, he's durable, and, you start to slow down on him, then you'll start to take over, but he eats a lot of shots. The thing is that Rafa Garcia doesn't really slow down. And in fact, I'll even say this, and this might be controversial. I think Rafa Garcia pushes a harder pace than Chris Gruetzemacher. And that's the one thing Gruetzemacher is known for, is that fucking pace he pushes. And I think Rafa Garcia actually pushes a harder pace than him. But there were a couple things that sketched me out, but I think they were just learning experiences. 2 fights ago when he fought Eric Gonzalez, he did kind of get rocked in that fight. He did start to slow down at times, but to his credit, he's the guy that can push through fatigue. And it looked like in more recent fights that, his cardio has not been an issue at all. And in that Nazareth fight, even in a loss, I felt like he performed admirably, man. I felt like he went out there, showed his true Mexican heart. And when you talk about taking your first L, like for some prospects, like y'all remember how I always talk about that kid, Josh Crispy, who was supposed to fight Jose Aldo. Jose Aldo pulled out the fight, and they ended up doing Dustin Poirier's UFC debut on short notice against Crispy, and Crispy was never the same ever again after that first loss. Whereas this kid, Rafa Garcia, I think after his first loss, is the kind of loss that you learn from, you grow from, and then here he can come out here and have that showcase performance. For Grits to win this fight, it's contingent on Rafa either, getting badly hurt or just gassing out from trying to finish Grits. Because look, they're going to go blow for blow. That's the thing about this fight. And it's still a fist fight. There's still 4-ounce gloves. These guys are still professional fighters. They're going to go blow for blow. I'm telling you that right now. I just think that I'd rather side with Rafa Garcia in that type of fight. So I'm going to go with Rafa Garcia to get it done. And again, don't be surprised if he mixes in some takedowns from time to time as well here. So I'm going to go with Rafa to get it done. Let me see. Sounds like y'all got a lot of opinions about this one. Yeah, y'all do. But I'm going to get to this next fight right here, because next up in the featherweight division, I'm curious about y'all's opinion on this one, because I feel like this is kind of one of those wait and see fights. We got Colin Anglin. He's 8-1. He's taking on Melsik Bahgdasaryan, who is 5-1. And by the way, Shaq also took Rafa Garcia in that fight. And currently, they got Melsik Bahgdasaryan minus 145. The comeback on Colin Anglin is plus 125. So, obviously with Melsik Bahgdasaryan, he's Armenian, and Armenia has produced some good fighters, man. I mean, y'all remember Karo Parisian back in the day. Y'all know about Arman Sarukian, one of the top prospects at lightweight. So, if this guy fights anything like them, I think that he's got a bright future. But no, this guy's more of a kickboxer, and on his regional scene, on one hand, you can criticize the level of competition he's fought, but look at how he's handled these guys. He's going out there and handling them exactly how you're supposed to, which is what you like to see. He's not going to split decisions with these guys. He's getting them out of there right away. So that's very important to see. And that's what creates a prospect on the regional scene that, then he needs to get tested on that next level. And the UFC is that next level, because these guys aren't just going to go down to the first punch. These guys aren't just going to go down to the first kick. And you're going to get to see what this guy's really made of. How does he perform in the second round? How does he perform if he can't get this guy out of there, with the first big kick? What happens if guys overcome knockdowns? What happens when you're gassed? Because the UFC, as you know, is the pinnacle of this sport. So, the last fight against Dennis Bazooka on Contender Series, obviously he was impressive early. Then, he kind of had to gut it out. He got a little tired, had to dig deep. But I think that's important for a young up-and-coming fighter. That's had less than 10 pro fights, man. I mean, shit, he's had less than 7 pro fights in MMA. So he's got a lot of learning to do. And obviously there's questions about the grappling, but it's not because we've seen holes per se. I mean, don't get me wrong. But what I'm trying, I mean, he's not been submitted or nothing like that. But what I'm trying to say is just because we haven't, seen his ground game doesn't mean that it's bad or anything like that. I mean, and not to generalize or anything like that, but I've noticed that most of the fighters I've seen coming out of Armenia do have good grappling bases, whether it's Karo Parisian or Arman Sarukian. And again, I know this kid has a striking background, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's got some grappling chops in his back pocket. But the thing is with Colin Anglin, it's not a question mark of if he does or if he doesn't. I mean, we know that Colin Anglin has got some wrestling, and I would say that Colin Anglin is probably the more well-rounded fighter here. There were certain things I didn't like. I did think he was a bit hittable at times, and obviously you don't want to be too hittable against a guy like Melsik. So there's that to be worried about. But then there's the whole questions about what happens if this fight gets extended or what happens if takedowns are involved. So I think there's a coin flip kind of fight. I don't think it'll play out like a coin flip, but I think right now, before the fact, it's kind of a coin flip because I really have no idea what the fuck's going to happen. So Shaq went with Melsik, Bahgdasaryan. So, I'm going to go with Colin Anglin here, and, let's see who's right about that. Do any of y'all have a strong take on that fight? I mean, is one of these guys a lock? Like, do y'all think that I'm sleeping on one of these guys and not quite seeing this fight clearly? I mean, actually, that's a fact. I'm not quite seeing this fight clearly. I don't really I mean, I know Melsik kicks hard. I know he punches hard, the knees, the elbows, but I know that Colin Anglin is more of that well-rounded guy, can push a hard pace, can go deep into fights. So tough one to call. Y'all let me know. Now, this one I do have a bit of an opinion on, because next up in the welterweight division, we got a matchup between Bryan Bam Bam Barberena. He's 15-7. He's taking on Jason Witt, who is 18-7. And currently they got Bryan Barberena minus 255. The comeback on Jason Witt is plus 210. So listen, Bryan Barberena is one of these guys that we were talking about being a strong farm boy. He's definitely got that farm strength. He's definitely got an iron jaw. He hits like a truck. Look, it might not be the fastest, it might not be the prettiest, but when you fight against Bryan Barberena, you're gonna know that you were in for a real fight. And he's in there. The only guys that are beating him, since he moved up to welterweight, are the best guys on planet Earth. I mean, there's no shame in losing to Leon Edwards in a fight where actually Bryan Barberena dropped Leon Edwards. There's no shame in going the distance against Colby Covington. Colby took him down a bunch of times, but he got back up a bunch of times. There's no shame in having a life and death war with a guy of the caliber of Vicente Luque. And do you guys know what would happen if Jason Witt took one punch from Vicente Luque? You guys know what would happen, right? I don't even want to say what would happen, but let me just say this: Bryan Barberena ate hundreds of shots from Vicente Luque. I mean, this guy's a madman. It's just a different level here. However, there is a path to victory for Jason Witt here. I mean, for him to win, it's obviously contingent on him getting takedowns and holding down Barberena, making everybody boo and, boring the crowd completely. But I think it's only going to take one shot for, Barberena to knock Jason Witt out. And I do think that Jason Witt, listen, I think the quality of Jason Witt's chin rhymes with his last name, if you catch my drift. So Bryan Barberena is going to knock him out at some point in this fight, and he's going to be my pick to win this fight. The sad thing about it is that Jason Witt's actually got some skills, man. I mean, he's actually got some decent. He's got some decent takedowns, some decent entries to his takedowns. He's experienced. He trains under James Krause. He's not a bad fighter at all. It's just that he can't take a punch. So, and Bryan Barberena can give a punch. And Bryan Barberena, he's been in there with better versions of this style. I mean, like I said, went the distance with Colby, went the distance with Leon, basically went the distance with Vicente. It was stopped like 4 seconds before the bell. And he's putting up fights against these guys. So Bryan Barberena by knockout, that is my pick. And Shaq also has Barberena. Now, next up in the welterweight division, we got a matchup between Niklas Stolze. He's 12-4. He's taking on Jared Nitrain Gooden, who is 17-6. And currently, they got Niklas Stolze minus 200. The comeback on Jared Nitrain Gooden is plus 170. Good fight. Obviously, y'all know. Very biased here. Jared Gooden, friend of mine. I mean, like actual friend of mine. We've been to each other's houses and shit. So I'm super biased about this, and obviously I'm going to pick him to win. But I'll give you guys, the extent of the inside info that I'm allowed to share. So let's just start with this. For Jared Gooden to make 170 pounds on 3 days short notice. Like if you've been following this guy's career and about, his past issues with weight and, him moving back and forth from 170 to 185 pounds, and also on a more personal level, the kind of lifestyle he was living back in the day, to now he can make 170 pounds on 3 days notice. Like, I am proud of Jared. I'm blown away, because a couple of years ago, Jared wouldn't have been able to make 170 on 3 week notice, let alone 3 day notice. So the fact that he made a complete lifestyle change, and he's never missed weight in the UFC, but I felt like he made a statement, taking this on 3 day notice and making weight. And also, the other day at my friend Robert Hale's fight, by the way, shout out to Robert King Hale, check him out. Won his fight via first round knockout. And my boy Robert Hale is the real deal. If you look at his record, it might not look that good, but that's because, he took a couple stupid fights early in his career. Like he fought Ramazan Kuramagomedov up a weight class, you know what I'm saying? And he went the distance with him. My boy Robert Hale also knocked out Nicholas Mata, who's fighting Jim Miller. And then my boy Robert Hale is out here just taking fights against real studs that are either in the UFC or have had opportunities on Contenders or whatever the case may be, or up a weight class. But now that Robert's taking the right fights, look the fuck out, because this kid is the real deal. But back to this with Jared. The reason I brought up my friend Robert Hale is because he fought on Saturday at the NFC. He headlined. He won first round knockout. I saw Jared there. Me and Shaq were there. We saw Jared there. And me and Shaq walked away from that kind of like, Shaq said to me, like, damn, like Jared looks like he's in striking distance of making weight. And Jared told us there that, hey, like, I'm eyeing a fight with Mike Perry. Me and Mike Perry, former training partners. We used to spar together, and we think it'd just be a really exciting fight. So he was actually eyeing a fight with Mike Perry. But then a couple days later, they call him and are like, hey, you want to fight Niklas Stolze on 3 day notice? And he was ready for the opportunity. He made the weight. So that tells me he's been training. So his work ethic is not in question. It's just some other things that are in question I can get into another time. But his work ethic is not one of them. He's in shape. He's good to go. It's just about what happens here approach-wise. Niklas Stolze, he's all right. He's solid. I can't say anything bad about him. I think that Niklas Stolze is long for the weight class. He's 6'1". I think that he's got some solid kicks. His knees are on point. He actually dropped Ramazan Emeev with a knee. He's got a little sneaky guillotine, and he's a tough German fighter that is very hungry for a win. So yeah, I got nothing bad to say about Niklas Stolze at all. I think with Jared, he came into the UFC, and I thought that his fight against Alan Jouban, I thought that was a barn burner. I actually thought that was like a classic, like UFC fight that I can put on any time and be super entertained. And going into that fight, I thought that it was going to be a great fight. Now, going into the last one against Nurmagomedov, I didn't like that fight from the jump. I actually told him not to take that fight. And listen, obviously on here, I'm going to, the fight was already signed, so I'm not going to put any negative vibes out to the universe, but I'm going to always root for my guy. I'm going to pick my guy. But I knew deep down that the Nurmagomedov fight was a bad fight for him. And I mean, remind me the last time someone looked good against a Nurmagomedov, and you know what I mean? So, but this, I have different feelings about the Stolze fight. Look, I can't guarantee a win, but I can guarantee that I have a way better feeling going into this one than I did the last one. I think that this is going to be a stand-up fight, and we're going to see who the better man is. I know Jared's approach here. Jared's not going to try to hump this guy. Jared's not going to try to bore the crowd. Jared's going to go out there and try to take this guy's heads off. Is going to go out there and try to take this guy's head off. And we'll see who the better man is, because I know Niklas is coming to fight too. I just disagree with the line. Odds makers open at -130 Gooden. They slightly edge him. Look, I think it's an even fight with a slight lean on Gooden. Maybe I'm biased. Look, if you want to favor Stolze, I don't have an issue with that. But what has he done to actually be -200 here? So I do think the line's a bit wide. So for that reason, I'm going to pick Jared Nichain Gooden to win this fight and get his first UFC win. And he even said he wants to be, the next generation Cowboy Cerrone, which means that he wants to be able to take these, short notice fights, 3 weeks, 3 days, 3 hours. He wants to fight everybody in the welterweight division. So let's see how this whole thing plays out. All right, let me see what y'all are saying. Night Train looked good on the scales. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Like I said, man, he's in very good shape. He's been training this entire time. So we'll see how that translates on fight night. All right. Featured bout in the strawweight division. We got Gloria de Paula. She's 5-3. She's taking on Cheyanne Buys, who is 5-2. And currently, they got Cheyanne Buys a -175. The comeback on Gloria de Paula is +148. Guys, do me a favor, hit the like button and hit the subscribe button. I truly appreciate it. You help out the channel tremendously. But about this fight with Gloria and Cheyanne, obviously they let a lot of people down. They let a lot of people down in their UFC debuts as favorites. I did bet on Gloria against Jinh Frey because I didn't think that Jinh Frey was going to win a UFC fight. Period, man. I thought that it was just one of those cases where we're out with the old, in with the new. And Gloria de Paula, she shares a similar quality to her girlfriend, Mayra Shitara Bueno Silva, which is, on the feet, man. They got some very nice Muay Thai techniques, and wide diversity of strikes. It's just that a wide arsenal of strikes, excuse me. It's just that when you take them down, if they can't get that armbar, man, they are not getting back up. And it's just such a frustrating issue because there is talent from Gloria de Paula on the feet, man. I do like the way she strings her combinations. I do like the fact that she's out there, throwing punches, kicks, knees, elbows, the whole bit. So she's a very talented striker. It's just that you got to nip this not being able to get up from bottom issue in the butt. And, same with her girlfriend, Mayra Bueno Silva, because I think they're both talented. It's just, Can we work on our get up game this much? That's all I ask for. And with Cheyanne Buys, it was equally embarrassing, to consistently be headlocked and be kept in said headlock throughout the duration of the fight, and not be able to make those in-fight adjustments and not take advantages of the times that they were at the feet, not keep that proper distance, not listen to her coach, Saif Saud. And speaking of Saif Saud, glad I brought that up. So she was with Saif Saud, for that last fight, and they, her and her husband actually moved to Vegas now. And on one hand, you can look at it like this, like, look, Eric Nixick's a fantastic coach. So it's not like, Cheyanne Buys is training with, with people that aren't qualified. That's not the case at all. She's in there with studs. It's just that, Saif Saud's a genius too, Saif Saud. So it's just about what do you prefer? It's like, is she looking for answers? Is she going to come out here better? Because the way I see this fight is that obviously the way to beat the way to beat De Paula is to lay on her, but Cheyanne Buys is kind of a aggressive, kind of wild brawler type and goes forward and throws punches. And I think that if she does that, that De Paula is actually going to get the better of the striking exchanges. It's just my issue is, you got a genius like Eric Nicksick watching the tape, and he's got to know, like, hey, if we can just land a couple takedowns, hold her down, I mean, we can win this fight. But at the same time, does Cheyanne Buys really have that skill set in her arsenal to be able to implement a game plan like that? And to take it a step further, I bring up a genius like Eric Nicksick. What about a genius like Saif Saud? The last fight, you knew that Ruiz's one big move was the headlock, and you still couldn't stop it. So I think this is a dog or pass situation, man. And I'm gonna go with Gloria De Paula to bounce back, get her first UFC win, and outstrike Cheyanne Buys. Contingent on her being able to not be held on her back, but based off the footage, Cheyanne Buys doesn't really try to take anyone down. So obviously that could be changed. That's something. Fighters make adjustments, they grow, they evolve, they progress. But based off what I've seen so far, if this is contested on the feet, I'll go with Gloria De Paula for the upset. Because, again, I do think this fight could play out closer than the odds indicate. So I'm more inclined to take the dog in a spot like that. Co-main event of the evening in the bantamweight division, we got Kyung Kang. He's 17-8, Mr. Perfect. He's taking on Rani Yahya, who's 27-10. And by the way, my boy Shaq took Gloria De Paula in that last one. And currently they got Kyung Kang minus 120. The comeback on Rani Yahya is plus 102. So great fight between two studs that have been in the UFC a long time. Rani Yahya made his UFC debut in 2011, and he was also in the WEC prior to that. And Kyung Kang made his UFC debut in 2013. And both these guys, I mean, with Kyung Kang, it's always been, his name is Mr. Perfect, but his name should be like Mr. Fight of the Night. This guy's always involved in the back and forth war. He's durable. He can scramble. He can take it. He can give it. I mean, the guy's a stud. He's big for the weight class. He's as experienced as they get. I mean, I can't say enough good things about Kyung Kang. And with Rani Yahya, I mean, look, the guy's a 4th degree black belt. Just to put that in perspective, Damian Maia is a 5th degree black belt. So Rani Yahya is basically just one step down from Damian Maia, which, I mean, speaks volumes to the level of jiu-jitsu that he has. And, Rani Yahya can come out here and he can submit anyone in the division for sure. It's just that there's been a blueprint on how to beat Rani Yahya for a very long time. And Kyung Kang comes out here prepared with that right game plan. And I think that he can come out here, survive that early, weather that early jiu-jitsu storm. Then that second and third round, Rani Yahya starts to gas. He starts to huff and puff. That's when he starts shooting from a mile away. That's when you can actually even get on top of him, kind of neutralize him, and start to take the and start to sorry, your comments are funny, and start to take the decision from there. So I'm gonna lean Kyung Kang, but obviously you have to respect a guy like Rani Yahya. I mean, Rani Yahya is again a 4th degree black belt, a guy that's been in the UFC 10 years, a guy that is a stud, man. So, and don't sleep on his hands either. I've seen him drop some people too. Don't forget about that. Was it the second Johnny Bedford fight? He came in there with the hands there, man. So my boy Rani Yahya don't play games, but Kyung Kang come out here with the right game plan, and I think that just drag this to deep waters, make Rani Yahya have to work, exhaust him, make him start to flop to his back. He comes out there with that game plan, and I think Kyung Kang can edge this decision. Main event of the evening in the middleweight division, we got Uriah Hall. He's 17-9. He's taking on Sean Strickland, who is 23-3. And currently, they got Sean Strickland minus 200, and Uriah Hall is plus 180. Interesting fight. So, obviously, there's the whole volume talk. Sean Strickland definitely throws at a higher clip than Uriah Hall, and people are going to say Uriah Hall is KO or bust, and Yeah, but it's like he's like one of the best KO or bust guys of all time. He's one of those guys that he can be getting his ass whooped the entire fight, but just land one punch and end anyone's night. He's the kind of guy that can throw shots from a video game, whether it's the spin kicks or the knees and just his punches. I mean, he's dangerous with every single limb. And I think the thing that's so impressive, or maybe that's not so impressive, but the thing that we're just happy to see with Uriah Hall is that he's finally putting it together, and it seems like mentally, he's starting to be more mean out there. Mentally, you're starting to see him go out there, and you're starting to see the finishes and the win streak that you wanted to see since day one, man. I mean, we've won because I mean, look, back when he lost to John Howard in his second UFC fight, it wasn't because John Howard, and this is not to discredit John Howard, but it's not because John Howard was levels above him. It's because Uriah Hall kind of had a mental block at that point. I don't know if he didn't truly believe in himself. Obviously I can't speak for him, but it is what it is. So he didn't perform at his best, whereas now I feel like he is finally starting to perform at his best. And maturity wise, he's actually the team captain of Fortis MMA. So for Safe Saud to trust Uriah Hall to be in that position also says a lot about where his maturity level is at right now. And that's what you need, because Uriah that's mentally there is a very, very dangerous Uriah. And look, Sean Strickland is such a talented guy. Look at his record, man. What, 21-3? Is that what the record is? 23-3, excuse me, Sean Strickland. I apologize. And he's also a very mentally tough guy, to overcome a motorcycle accident where the doctor said, you'd never fight again, you'd never walk again. And now he's, made it to his first UFC main event. And, Sean Strickland, always down to go blow for blow with anyone. He's got a nasty jab. I always said, I didn't always say, someone else came up with this quote. I'm not trying to plagiarize anybody, but someone said a good jab will take you far. And it's true, man. And, Sean Strickland's gone a long way, man. He's got a beautiful jab. And I guess the only issue I have is, there's not much you can criticize from Sean Strickland. His ground game is on point as well. The only thing you can criticize is that Sean Strickland from time to time, not from time to time, a lot of the time, he keeps that chin straight up in the air. And against a guy like Uriah Hall, it might only take that one time to end this fight. And that's where that plus 180 line is very intriguing. Again, Sean Strickland can be winning the minutes of this fight. And maybe Sean Strickland gets a finish of his own. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, maybe he can, pile up the volume and wear down Uriah Hall and eventually put him down. Like that's a possibility as well. But I'm gonna actually lean with the dog Uriah Hall. I like the momentum that he's on right now. I like how he's been performing inside the octagon, but also I like how he's been acting, and I like his mindset now. It seems like he's finally put it together. Like, do you guys remember how he used to act? I mean, he used to high five in the middle of fights, and he wasn't mean, and Dana White would criticize him, and he'd be a total dick to the media and, not answer questions. And now I feel like he's matured. Again, he's the team captain of Fortis MMA. That means he's definitely matured. The performances are there. And again, the glimpses were always there prior to this current win streak. I mean, he knocked out Mousasi, beat Thiago Santos. Now he's knocked out Anderson Silva, and he beat Chris Weidman back to back. And I feel like now he's finally making his run. So, listen, I'm going to go with Uriah Hall to catch Strickland somewhere along the way. Even if Strickland's winning this fight in the early going, I'm going to go with Uriah Hall to catch him. And who knows? Maybe one day we could see an Izzy versus Uriah Hall fight. I think that's a marketable fight. I think it's an exciting, obviously Izzy would be favored, but so what? It would be, two of the best strikers in the middleweight division. And again, it'd be a very sellable fight. So let's see what happens. But Strickland, he's a character, man. Strickland's a guy that you hear some of the sound bites he's been putting out. The guy's something else. So it'll be interesting to see what Strickland does. I think he's got a bright future, win, lose, or draw. So, but I'm gonna go with Uriah Hall here. I think it is his time right now. So Uriah Hall is my pick. All right, let me tell you all Shaq's picks on the last two. So, he actually, interestingly enough, he went with Kang and with Hall too. Okay. All right. So before I talk about the fight to watch and the fighter to watch, y'all got any questions for me? Anything y'all want to tell me? How's your life going? Everybody treating you good? What's your best bet of the card. Who should I max bet this week? Let's see. Dan Goldstein said Kang has a beautiful head of hair, just no win of note. Yeah, but who cares if it's win of note or let's look at how he performs in this fight. Let's look at his skill set, and then more importantly, let's look at how he matches up with Ronnie Aya, and then also. But if you really want to talk win of note, I mean, read off the guys Ronnie Aya has been beating. But I don't really like to talk in those terms. I like more about the skill set and the stylistic matchup. But he does have a beautiful head of hair. I'll give you that, my man. My boy Owly says, it's a lock of the night when Dan pronounces a name this correctly. Which one were you talking about there? Was it Ronnie Aya or someone else? Okay. Thoughts on Pitbull versus AJ? Shit, that's a fucking great fight. I mean, I think that Pitbull is the pound for pound best fighter in Bellator right now, and AJ McKee, this is that fight that's going to let us know, is he that phenom that's going to go 18-0 and just tear through everything, or is it time to get humbled? I mean, because Patricio Pitbull is such a man. He's truly paid his dues. He's a double champ, and the guys he's beaten, and I find it hard to count out a guy like Pitbull, but maybe it's AJ's time. Maybe AJ's ready to be that guy. So I just got questions about it, but I wouldn't count out Pitbull. All right. Champ said, "What happened to Shaq?" No, nothing happened to Shaq. Shaq's good. It was just a little scheduling conflict. You can blame me on this one, and he'll be back in here because it's funny. I saw some comments last time y'all were trying to act like there was some kind of beef between me and Shaq, and then like the very next week, me and Shaq are out here smoking a blunt in front of y'all. So no, there ain't no beef. We're completely fine. Just a little scheduling issue, because now we're trying to get him in the studio, and we got busy lives, and you don't want to hear. I don't want to bore you with all that, but just know we're all good, and we'll get it going soon. All right, let's see. My boy Meat Man said he's on Barberena TKO. Let's hope he doesn't pass out. Wow, yeah, I hope he doesn't pass out either. All right, let's see what else you do. The champ said he's got AJ McKee all day. Yeah, maybe he's that guy. So let me know. All right, anything else before I talk about this fight to watch and fighter to watch? Y'all let me know. Type it in the comments below. And guys, hook me up with that like and that subscribe. I truly appreciate it. Intra said maybe I skipped it, but did you skip? Maybe I missed it, but you skipped the Benoit fight. I did not skip the Benoit fight. You can go back and check that out. All right, so fight to watch. My fight to watch was going to be Ronnie Lawrence versus Trevin Jones, but unfortunately that fight got canceled. So my fight to watch is going to be Jared Gooden versus Niklas Stolze. I have a feeling they're going to go out there, have an exciting barn burner type fight, stand and trade, put on a show for the fans. So Gooden versus Stolze is my fight to watch. And my fighter to watch is actually someone in the main event, Uriah Hall. I mean, if Uriah Hall can put together his first 4-fight win streak inside the octagon, I feel like he'll show that, he's truly over that hump, and that now, after all these years, he's ready to live up to the expectations that people had for him since that, amazing run he had on The Ultimate Fighter. And again, he's shown glimpses along the way. It's not like, it's not like this guy has sucked or anything. It's just, it's been kind of hit or miss at times, but they hit. I mean, when you beat Thiago Santos, when you knock out Gegard Mousasi, at the time when you beat Chris Lieben, and then now you parlay that with his current win streak. He's won 4 of his last 5. Uriah Hall is my fighter to take. My fighter to watch, excuse me. All right, so Meat Man said, "Is Ronnie Lawrence okay?" Yeah, he's okay. He had like he was very dehydrated, so they took him to the hospital. They put some IV fluid in him, and he should be good to go. Abu Dhabi says Strickland is the tougher guy and the more technically sound guy. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to argue with those points. It's with Hall, it's just all about that. He's got that He's got that one hitter quitter. He's got that eraser. And sometimes you can be the more technical guy and still get caught by him. So, you know, Ali says the biggest fade of the card. I mean, I wanted to say Nico Montano, but she pulled out. I don't know. It's tough to say, man. I mean, because there's like a lot of people I wouldn't want to bet. You know, like Jason Witt, even though he does have a path to victory with the wrestling, and maybe I'm way off on that, but I could just never trust Jason Witt's chin, like under any circumstance. So maybe him. Maybe Jinh Frey, but you know, watch them both go out there and win. Now that I'm saying that, so we'll see what happens. All right, guys, I truly want to thank you guys so much for taking the time to hang out with me right here, right now on Half the Battle. Truly appreciate it. You guys can follow me at Best Fight Picks. Follow Shaq at MMA Genius 05. Subscribe to Half the Battle on iTunes, SoundCloud, YouTube, Stitcher, Spotify. All the places that we are available. We'll be back next week to break down the next card. Let's see who we got next week. Next week we got Cyril Gahn and Derek Lewis. So should be a very, very fun card. I'm excited about that. And guys, thank you for all your support, man. I truly appreciate it. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe. Thank you guys so much. Hit up our sponsor, Manscaped. Go to manscaped.com. Use that promo code BATTLE20 for 20% off and free shipping. Thank you guys again. And until the next time, let's cash